This is WCBU's Out and About. I'm Dr. May Gilliland of ArtsPartners of Central Illinois. Today I'm joined by Barry Cloyd, touring performer, songwriter, historian, and creator of Barry Cloyd Productions. On August 22nd, Barry and his band Freedom Street bring Stephen Stills' For What It's Worth to the Contemporary Arts Center of Peoria. The multimedia concert blends live performances with stories from Stills' remarkable career, celebrating one of the defining voices of folk rock and Americana. Barry, welcome to Out and About.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back.
So this is not just a tribute concert. It's really part concert, part history lesson.
Yeah.
What inspired you to create this unique look at Stephen Stills' life and music?
Great question. I've been a fan of Stephen Stills ever since I first heard Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young. I saw in 1969 their first live concert in the Auditorium Theater in Chicago, the day before Woodstock. And if you ever seen the movie Woodstock, Stephen Stills says on stage, "Well, it's our second gig, man, and we're scared blankless." And I saw the first one, and it was incredible. Joni Mitchell was the opening act.
Oh, wow.
Neil Young was a background player. I fell in love with the band the first time I ever heard it, and I have had the privilege to work with about 4 members of Stephen Stills' bands over the years in different places. And he has always been, he's the only guitarist. I've been playing guitar since I was a little bitty kid, and he's the only guitarist I've ever copied. And I love his work. I've always loved his writing. I love the band CS&N and whatever iteration they were in, and there have been many, but that is the reason for it. And so I do a number of edutainment shows that have history and music combined. This is one of the musicians that I've always wanted to do a tribute piece to, and that's what it is. Tells some of his life story and backed in by the backstories on the songs.
How do you fit in all of this in one evening? I'm curious because he was part of Buffalo Springfield, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, other bands as well, his solo career.
Right.
Tell us how you do it.
Right. Well, you're good at these questions things, man. Well, I start. Actually, there's a timeline to it. And most of these shows have some sort of a timeline. And this one literally does begin at the very beginning, where he was born and his background in schooling. He was schooled in many countries because his father was in the military and they traveled all over the place. And so it does literally go as a timeline and through the different bands and through some of the amazing things that have happened along the way and some of the amazing concerts that they performed. And of course, the music. The music is the star of the show. And I'm very fortunate to work with 3 other musicians that are terrific. And your listeners might know some of these folks. T.J. Jones, I play a percussionist guy who plays Celtic whistles and flutes and killer blues harp. And then there's Tom Abbott, who is the bass player and electric guitar. And he's been working with the Flying Dorito Brothers, of course. And then there's Bruce Burton, who's with Stillshine, and the Roundstone Buskers with T.J. as well. And I'm very fortunate to have them as the band Freedom Street.
You have shared the stage and recorded with musicians connected to Stephen Stills over the years. Do any of those experiences find their way into the stories you tell during these performances?
Yes. One in particular was one of the ones that that is the most meaningful to me. I've recorded with some of the people too, but on stage with Chris Hillman and Herb Peterson. Chris Hillman, of course, is from the Byrds, and Stephen Stills' Manassas, and those two backed me up in a Dan Fogelberg tribute that I did at one point in time, and it was an absolute thrill to work with these gentlemen because they're just iconic musicians, and they were just such nice folks. That's part of it. That's one of them. There are other stories about recording with Al Perkins. Al Perkins is a legendary Nashville session man who was also in Stephen Stills' Manassas and worked with him in CS&N as a background player. He played on my first album that I did in Nashville, and a couple of other instances along the way that I've had good fortune of working with these incredibly talented folks.
That was Barry Cloyd discussing Stephen Stills For What It's Worth, taking place August 22nd at the Contemporary Arts Center of Peoria. Tickets are at 309tix.com. Barry, thanks for joining me in the studio today.
Thank you, May. What a pleasure. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Out and About, a production of WCBU and ArtsPartners of Central Illinois, designed to connect you with the arts community. Our producer is Joey Wilson. Find this episode at wcbu.org and subscribe to the Out and About podcast wherever you download.
Support for arts and culture coverage on WCBU comes from PNC Financial Services. PNC is committed to supporting local art and culture events in the communities they serve.